By the end of this video, you're going to know the fastest ways to pay down your debt, even if you have zero cash flow. Whether you're drowning in debt or you just feel uncomfortable with the little amount of debt that you have, the systems I share with you in this video are going to help you fix your financial situation and, more importantly, start living life on your terms and not feeling like you're just playing catch up every month. But I will warn you, the last tip is by far the most important because I share with you the fastest way to pay down your debt, so make sure you don't skip around, but let's jump into it. First things first, let's tackle the most crucial step to paying down your debt, which is to stop using all your credit cards. Might sound really simple, but it's a crucial step. I remember when I used to swipe my credit card for everything, coffee, snacks, you name it. It added up really quickly. By switching to a cash-only system while I was struggling to pay down some of my debts, it really benefited me in the long term. And while I am a huge advocate for credit card rewards, as you probably see by watching the other videos on my channel, if your goal is to pay down your debt, you need to stop using your cards at least temporarily so you could start growing and making some sort of real progress. This one takes the most discipline compared to the next few, but it's going to be the one that pushes you the furthest in the shortest amount of time. Which reminds me, if you are thinking about doing this, the two methods I share with you towards the end of the video are going to help you figure this out the quickest without feeling a ton of stress. Because they're going to share things like how much to pay down each month and how much to actually use for each method and so on. Second tip, and by far one of the most undervalued ones that I share with you in this video, is negotiating interest rates, and most people either don't know how to do it or don't even know you could do this in general. A friend of mine did this last year. She managed to get all of her rates reduced by up to, actually 5%. It never hurts to ask, and it can make a big difference in how quickly you pay off your debt. Almost all credit card companies offer this. Easiest way to do it is to call the number on the back of your credit card and simply ask them or let them know that you're doing your best to get out of debt, to increase your credit score, to ultimately get better credit cards with that company, if you see what I did there, and you're wondering if they have any sort of debt reduction strategies or any sort of programs to reduce your debt in the meantime. Normally they call this a promotion, promotional APR, so make sure to do this on all your credit cards right now. First few times you call, they may be resistant. I would say stay persistent because at the end of the day, their goal is to earn something rather than get nothing if you literally cannot pay down your card. Now the next tip is literally a debt hack because your debt's going to disappear, but there is a small catch and you'll see what I mean. Tip number 3 is using balance transfer credit cards to pay down your debt. Now this one is tricky because you have to be very wise. Balance transfers can be a great tool if you use them wisely. I once transferred a high interest balance to a 0% credit card, which was the American Express Blue Cash Preferred. They gave me 18 months of interest free. Gave me some breathing room to pay down debt without accruing more interest, but you have to watch out for things like transfer fees, which could be anywhere from 3 to 5%. Sometimes it's nothing. And then make sure you're paying attention to when that transfer fee or rate ends. For example, let's say you get a 0% APR from January to December, and it's now November, meaning you have 1 month left, and you still have majority of the debt to pay down on that card. You may be in some pretty deep trouble and technically just back to square one, because now you're going to be not only adding to your debt, but adding to your debt at a significant interest rate, which is the normal credit card APR, before you actually earn that bonus APR of 0%. So this one's sort of like walking on thin ice, but if you use it correctly, you could really do some damage to paying down your debt. And as always, if you're finding this video helpful up until this point, consider subscribing. It does help out my channel. And to help out which credit cards offer the best rates and which ones I think have the best bonuses this month, I did put a link to the best credit cards as well as the best ones to transfer your debt to in the link in the description below. Tip number 4 is applying windfalls to your debt, and you're probably thinking, well, Nick, what the heck are you talking about? Does this guy mean waterfall? No, I mean windfall, which means any sort of small amount of money that you come across throughout the year, whether it be a business present, whether it be Christmas or whatever holiday that you choose to celebrate, or simply just stumbling upon money like winning the lottery. And if you did win the lottery, let me know in the comments so we can become best friends. For me, last year, I did come across some extra money by making these social media videos. I did use them to pay off whatever credit card debt I had left, and then I actually treated myself to getting a new pair of running shoes because I do love to run in the spare time. So hopefully these tips help you to pay down your debt and then hopefully buy yourself a present as well. This one is sort of a psychological mental battle. It's never easy to take extra money that you're getting and apply it to your credit card debt. but it is one of the most important ones, of course. Now, enough on ways to pay down your debt for a second. The next few will actually be ways to increase your income to hopefully supercharge getting rid of all this debt overnight. Now, if you're serious about getting out of debt, especially if you have a lot of it, then the fastest and easiest way is probably just to increase your income. Picking up a side hustle can really accelerate paying down your debt, whether it's freelancing, delivering food, or even just selling something as simple as handmade crafts. Every dollar is going to count if you can contribute to paying down your credit card balance. I know someone that started a small online store selling homemade candles. Eventually they had over $100,000 over a few years, which they actually used to just pay off their house. Another friend of mine actually sold stickers on Etsy, and another one sells baseball clothes online. And if you don't believe me, then try it for yourself and let me know how you make out. Now, before I get to the next few ways to pay down your debt, with the last one being the most important, make sure to smash that subscribe button if you like and want to see more finance tips. Now, at this point, some of the tips you heard are probably familiar ones, and some of the next few ones you probably never heard of. But tip number 6 is going to be declutter your house or apartment or wherever you're staying at right now, and ultimately pick up some extra cash on the side. Look around your home. Do you have items you could use, or don't use or need? I sold a bike and some furniture on Facebook Marketplace. I actually just bought a couch on Facebook Marketplace as well. It's a great place to buy, sell. You could even use Let Go, Offer Up, and there's a ton of other ones. I'll drop some examples in just a few seconds. Pretty much sell anything for no fee. Just need some salesmanship skills and be able to deal with people locally. I know a lot of people don't like to meet up with people at their house, which I totally respect. You could even offer to meet them at a local gas station or at local banks, so it's a little safer and you feel more comfortable. And if you really want to feel safe, you could just post it on eBay. If eBay's still even around, I'm actually going to look into it as I edit this video. But technically, you're just going to ship your stuff to them and have them bid on an item, so you don't actually have to meet up with anyone in person. So no excuses. As I told you, I'm literally sharing the fastest ways to pay down your debt, even if it means selling everything in your house and being left with nothing. And since we're on the topic of selling stuff and downsizing, tip number 7 would be to downsize your assets, whether it be getting a cheaper car or simply downsizing your house. And you're probably thinking, well, Nick, I can't just go post my house for sale because I have kids and I have other things to worry about. So come on, man, give me another option. So tip number 8 is cutting down on dining out. And if you tell me you can't cut down on dining out, we all can, then you're simply just lying to yourself. And I really don't respect that, because I'm actually trying to help people with giving you practical ways. But tip number 8 is to cut down on dining out, whether you have to cook at home and save some money. Personally, I started meal prepping about a year ago, and I actually got into really good shape, which helped me on my marathon training, as well as saved me over $200 a month. With the way grocery prices are right now, I probably am saving over $200 a week, but yeah, I'll have to calculate that and figure it out on my end. However, for you, it's a pretty simple thing to do. You could literally just search up on Google different meal prep options and go to Costco or simply your local supermarket and buy things in bulk and make pretty much the same meal every week, or switch it up weekly. As boring as it sounds, it really does help to pay down your debt. So give it a try and let me know what you think. But let's face it, not everyone wants to cook meals at home, and some people are just addicted to eating out, like my sister. But the next 2 things I share with you are proven ways to pay down your debt really fast. Second one is the one that I used to pay down over $20,000 in credit card debt just 2 years ago. This first one focuses on paying down high interest debt first versus the small interest, which is called the Avalanche method. Prioritize paying off your high interest debt first with hopes that, hey, you're saving money in the long term by doing this. This method saves you the largest amount of interest over time, not only the quickest way to see debt disappear, but it's also the most cost-effective way in the long run. I will say this. This method requires the most amount of discipline because you're not starting with the smallest balance like the next method I'm going to share with you, but you're going through all your debts, you're lining them up, and you're starting with the largest amount of interest. So it kind of plays with your head a little bit, because if the largest amount of interest is also the largest debt, you have to wait to pay down that big chunk of change before you can pay off the smaller one. So psychologically, it is the hardest, but it makes the most mathematical sense. It's really not my favorite because of that reason. However, it does work. Now, the complete opposite on the other side is called the snowball method, which really is my personal favorite. It's the one that I used to pay down a ton of debt really quickly a few years ago, which basically means you're paying down the smallest balance first and you're working your way up. For example, let's say you have a balance of $25, $50, $75, and then $100. You're starting with $25, paying that off completely, only paying the minimums on the other cards, and then you're ultimately moving to the $50. Same thing, then moving to $75, and so on. This one is the best, and I think especially for people who have a lot of debt, because technically getting in debt is psychological. You really think that you need all of this stuff that you really don't. Like I said in the other past few methods, selling off your stuff or just decluttering and downsizing, sometimes we get way ahead of ourselves up here. So paying off the smallest debt really does those quick wins and shows you that it really is possible. And for that reason, it's my favorite, especially for people that have a lot of debt. Now, this way could be confusing, especially if you have a lot of debt on a lot of different credit cards, which brings me to tip number 11, which is consolidating your debt. But this should only be done in a certain way, because if you do it the wrong way, then you're going to end up owing way more money. You could probably destroy your credit, and you're just going to feel like shit. Now, this option should only be considered if you have extreme discipline, because if you consolidate your debts and you don't do it the right way, or you don't end up actually paying down your debts, then you're going to end up being in a terrible situation, more debts, more interest, and you're going to feel horrible, because when you consolidate your debt, technically you're taking all of that big debt, you're combining it into one big payment, usually for less interest than the larger debt, which is the whole point of kind of combining it up and consolidating it. But if you don't pay back that large sum, yeah, you're going to be in a bad place. Now, I had a cousin that did this through a personal loan, which really helped them. Basically, they took all their credit card interest, they put it on a personal loan, and you're probably thinking, well, Nick, why does this matter? Why does this help? Few reasons, right? First reason, personal loan is a revolving debt, not credit card debt. So technically, if you have $100 in credit card debt and you only have a $100 credit limit, you are at 100% credit utilization, which is terrible for your credit score. But if you take a personal loan of $100, you pay down the $100 credit card debt, your credit card debt now has $0 balance and $0 utilization, which is a big part of your credit score. So it boosts your credit score, and you still have the $100 to pay down on the loan, but it doesn't affect your credit score because the revolving debt, if it's on a car loan or personal loan, it doesn't actually affect your credit score in a big way because it doesn't factor into your credit utilization. The only thing it really factors into is your debt to income when you're getting another loan or a house or a car, but it doesn't actually hurt your credit score in the short term, which is why it's a pretty good strategy. But if you don't want to deal with any of that, especially finding out in this market which one has the best interest rate and which one to combine all this debt into and how to get the best personal loan, the next thing I'm going to share with you is how to properly make a budget if you just want to kind of, boom, hit the ground running, put your head down, do the hard work, and get rid of this debt. Tip number 12 is creating a realistic budget, which pretty much changed my life because I finally, after all these years, I thought, hey, I'm managing my money correctly. No. I didn't even know how much money was coming into my checking, going out. I was paying with things in my savings account that had no money. I was putting things on a credit card. I was a complete mess. So here's what I did, and hopefully it helps you. Creating a realistic budget was a game changer for me. It helped me track where my money was going, make me informed decisions. I was underestimating my spending by a lot, so basically I took all my credit card statements, I put them into Excel, you could even put them into ChatGPT, I broke them down per category, and I started with how much I was spending. I cut there, which would be helpful for the past few things I spoke about, and then starting with that, I made sure I was only spending a certain percentage of each category, which I could share with you on the screen on the next slide. Another quick but practical tip, tip number 13, is just using cash for everything. I don't recommend this because you don't really have those protections if you're using your debit or credit card, like dispute resolution and extended warranties, but if it comes down to it and you're absolutely terrible with your credit and just spending habits, which is probably why you landed on this video anyway, then a cash-only ecosystem might benefit you. Or you could simply use cash for certain expenses to prevent overspending, like using them for just groceries or entertainment. It's kind of a physical reminder of your budget, and it helps you stick to them. And tip number 14, if you're feeling completely overwhelmed and you really feel like everything I said is just out of arm's reach, then consider professional help. If it feels unmanageable, don't hesitate to ever reach out to a professional. That goes for financial or just your mental well-being in general. There is credit counseling services. They can provide guidance and negotiate with creditors on your behalf. So you have a smaller bill, but you may end up hurting your credit score a little bit. So it's something to consider. But again, only seek this option if it's completely unmanageable and you really have no other way out. It's okay to ask for help sometimes. Sometimes a fresh perspective, is really just what you need, especially in times like this. Throughout this video, you probably realized that debt can simply be just overwhelming, so I thank you so much for watching this. Hopefully these strategies were simple yet effective, and if this was helpful and you want to learn more finance tips, see other finance videos from me, consider subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up, or simply just leave a comment and let me know what I could do better or what you liked about this video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.